Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are revisiting a very old topic, and that is a disassembly of a vehicle done in Russia by Russian experts. And those Russian experts do not need any introduction to anyone who's been subscribed to this channel for a while. It's Klubniy Servis Moscow. Yes, and today they're not reviewing a Chinese vehicle, they're actually reviewing a good old classic that is still very well known in Australia and other countries, and it is Honda CR-V. It's a brand new model, Honda CR-V Hybrid 2026 model, brand new. So he's gonna tell us what he thinks about it, what's good about it, what's not so good about it, and everything in between, my friends. So make yourselves comfortable. And we are not going to talk about any sponsors today, by the way, because no one wanted to buy me a coffee. Ah, well, I can buy myself a coffee for once. That's why we're jumping straight into this. So for those drivers who want the Japanese quality and reliability of the vehicles, but still want somewhat modern design and technology, yet who also kind of keep in mind that the prices of fuels everywhere are increasing, even though Russia has its own supply of fuel independent from any world conflicts. This is roughly who this car is for. It's kind of a light, gentle nudge from Ilya at the outtake of this whole video that I'm translating for you. So he acknowledges that at the present day and age, hybrids are already accepted as still a modern technology, but it's kind of worth the risk of having those extras, such as a massive 300 to 500 kilograms lithium battery under your feet that gives this vehicle a certain level of electric capabilities. So Chinese automakers are known to supply their hybrid vehicles with extra charging stations, sometimes when you purchase a car, various cords, plugs, other kind of stuff. While these vehicles, they are a little bit more aesthetically packaged, at least for Russia, when they buy them over there. Another thing that Ilya points out is that charging stations and perfect conditions, or let's call it perfect public charging conditions, are even more scarce there than we can get here across our lovely Australian landscape. That, it might be somewhat okay in the middle of, let's say, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane or Perth, but it creates a slightly strange and slightly nervous infrastructural conditions for the rest of the country. Essentially here we can see that there are no charging plugs, no nothing. It's a closed circuit hybrid by the looks of it to me. And we can see that there is that lithium battery that is relatively compact. We have seen much bigger ones, say in Tank 400 or other kind of videos that we've translated from them. This suggests that capacity is not too massive. He doesn't pause and explain exactly what the capacity is like here. You can look it up if you're seriously looking at this vehicle. But obviously it suggests to you that it limits the built-in range of travel if it would be traveled purely on electric power. Here we have an internal combustion 2-liter engine, but also an eCVT, electric variator. It contains two electric motors within. One of them, that Ilya spends quite a bit of time explaining how it works, it creates that extra pulling force. So it's actually a pulling motor, for the lack of a better word. It helps the ICE engine to move the car along, at low speeds, of course, where it engages. That first motor, the pulling motor, obviously uses electricity stored in the battery. Working ICE engine will charge that battery while the vehicle moves at higher speeds. Clutches are smartly combining the force created by the ICE engine and electric motor when the car believes that it has the right conditions for both engines to be working, when the driver is demanding for that extra speed or force. But how does this engine start, and what serves as the ultimate electric generator? Well, it's that second motor that Ilya alluded to a minute ago. The motor isn't directly connected to any mechanical elements that turn the wheels, but what it does is it's a starter, like so it starts the engine and it charges the battery. Put simply, yeah? So, and the rest of it is even simpler, Ilya says. There is a standard mechanical clutch, standard driving shaft, standard transfer cases, a few gears here and there, and your wheels are turning. What are the pluses of hybrid Hondas or Toyotas and Lexus vehicles for that matter? Relatively rare need to service complex parts, Ilya says. Complex designs here, they kind of deal by themselves with a lot of elements that normally would require a lot of manual intervention and treatment. which causes a lot more of the service interval kind of needs, right? And here he says, and I'm quoting him directly here for a change, that all pluses of a petrol car without the minuses of a full 100% EV is what this vehicle gives you. Inside this car, everything looks very familiar to any middle-aged, old-school driver. Very comfortable, old school, there are no surprises, nothing sparks particular emotion, but everything is in its place. Everything is civilized, modern enough, clean enough, but also very, very classic once again. And I kind of hate to say it, but it's borderline boring. Lots of reinforcement bars are shown in the doors, tube-based reinforcement bars, and we can see here larger reinforcement bars along the floors. We can here see a lot of sealant applied where it's needed to be applied. All of this shows us a very sturdy Japanese-made vehicle that many love so much, and for a good reason. Once again, Ilya points out that other than a not very massive battery, there is nothing really that intrudes your cognitive space, so to speak. When you look around and you think, anything else tells me that it's kind of futuristic, not very time-proven design. No, not really. So one thing that Ilya never skips pointing out is that people who respect their own driving comfort usually value relative silence and how quiet the drive can be. This concerns obviously just external noise entering the cabin of the vehicles, as well as your ability to enjoy, let's say, music when you close all the windows and everything else, and you can have the noise not traveling too far outside of the vehicle, so it's all enclosed. Hybrid engine helps here a little bit as well at low speeds when ICE engine isn't working too hard, but electric motor is pulling this SUV forward relatively silently. This obviously requires these extra levels of silence protection, let's call it, require aftermarket sound and vibro insulation, which Klubniy Servis always demonstrates, always boasts, and installs in these vehicles that variety of owners give them for disassembly, for reviews, but usually they reward them with this aftermarket sound insulation. And in all honesty, when we see one of their specialists here working on this vehicle and installing these layers of sound and vibro insulation, it really makes me jealous because it's freaking amazing. I am going to skip this segment as it's only a service that's available to those clients who can and would visit Klubniy Servis station in Moscow, which I'm pretty certain most of us, including myself, will never do. Just be happy for those who can afford this aftermarket application and would do that to their cars. I wish we did that a lot more kind of as a standard procedure here in Australia, especially in Chinese tin cans such as our MG ZST that have absolutely zero freaking sound insulation, pretty bad suspension, and we hear every bump and every noise as we drive them. Oh well. So who is this vehicle for at the end of the day? Well, according to Ilya, once again, he summarizes, first of all, obviously for people who have the money to buy this in the first place in Russia, for him, for his reality right now, I think these vehicles, Honda CR-Vs, are pretty unexciting and quite accessible in terms of pricing. Here in Australia, hybrids are obviously a bit more expensive. And hybrids ultimately are for those who don't want to risk 100% EV yet. And by that, I mean, again, both public infrastructure available and owning this tech yourself and kind of maybe at the back of your mind worrying, is it more complex, will something break, will a generic mechanic be able to do it without an actual certified service station, etc, etc, etc. He also says that if he had to drive a hybrid, he would buy this car. I take it with a grain of salt because he's a massive dude and in the past it's not his style. I take it with a grain of salt, but that's what he said. He says, because Honda is a known brand, still built in Japan, there is no denying it, it's famous for its incredible reliability, it needs fewer service appointments, it has good placement of the battery that is not literally placed under the bums of the passengers, it has better safety overall than a lot of other vehicles, and technology is time-proven. So he says, if not this particular hybrid, then what other to get? And that's it, my friends, very quick little disassembly and a review from Klubniy Servis. I thought this would be a nice change of pace from the videos where I was complaining to you about my ownership of our MG ZST that has caused us so much grief. So let's pause that for a while and let's focus on these vehicles that probably are worth your money. You can get them in Australia, you can get them in Europe, you can get them wherever you are. Yeah, and I am not excited by Honda CR-V. I was considering to buy a Honda CR-V when I eventuated in buying my Subaru Outback, right? And I had some reservations about Outback as well, but it's still a lot more exciting than Honda CR-V, even looking at it right now on the screen. But you tell me, now is your turn to tell me, do you drive a Honda CR-V? How many kilometers does your Honda CR-V have on the clock, and is it a hybrid or not? That's your homework. Talk to you next week about something else value cars related in Australia and beyond. Very likely we will switch to reviews of some new vehicles or disassemblies of those that you know and love so much. Bye for now.